How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. So what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to go over Lucid, ChargePoint, SoFi, and Redbox. We had an overall green day inside of the market, and the best part about it is not only are we going to be taking a look at the charts, we're going to be taking a look at the short interest information as well. So if you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. I want to make sure I'm making the best use of your time, so let's get into the videos. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $18.22, being up 5.75%. On the low, it tested $17.31, and then on the high, testing $18.51. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 21.329 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 18.865 million shares. So we had above average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the 1 hour chart, if you guys remember what I said yesterday, we want to see Lucid making that break above $18, and that is exactly what we got. So going into tomorrow, what do you want to see? You want to see a higher low. Ended up testing a low at $17.31. So if we could hold support right here at $17.80, which I marked from yesterday, that would be a very good look for the stock, because then we can look forward to a further move up. And what could that move up look like? You can see the next area where we could see some resistance is at 1874. Let's mark that. And then the next area to keep an eye on, where we had this strong sell-off, as you can see from that candle, is around 1934. Just getting in that $19 range will definitely be an accomplishment for Lucid if it can get there for this week. And that's where we have that range between 1934 and as well as a psychological area at $20. So please keep an eye on those levels. But for now, we want to see how well it trades in the range of 1780 and as well as 1874. It saw a high of the day at 1851. So that is not too far off whatsoever. But you can see with the recent price action we have right now, keep in mind each of these candles does represent 1 hour. There could be that possibility going into the open tomorrow. If the market decides to dip and then rip back up, we want to see Lucid hold 1780. I want to make sure you guys are keeping aware of that level, especially if you're going to be looking for opportunities. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the short interest information for Lucid. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 49.93%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 2.78 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 150,000, updated 28 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 24.16%. And then when we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the first, it was at 56.30. And then for the close of the fifth, being at 49.93. So that is a significant decrease right there. But when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float, being at 22.58%, Lucid does have short squeeze potential. Let's move on. So we're going to do a technical analysis for SoFi. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $5.90, being up 1.03%. On the low, it tested $5.78, and then on the high, testing $6.10. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 24.96 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 34.226 million shares. So you can see right away we did have below average volume, and we saw some consistency in the stock. Now when we take a look at our chart, we are using the 1 hour chart. I'm going to point out some levels that I want you guys to keep a very close eye on. So as far as for today, since we did test a low at $5.78, you can see that we did a great job holding up above the 200 EMA. So that was part of the reasons why SoFi was able to make a move going to $6.10 before seeing some resistance. So going into tomorrow, we want SoFi to go back above $6 and pass that high at $6.10. The next level to keep an eye on would be right here at $6.30. And if it's able to build support and have some consolidation, we can look for a further move up where I can start seeing some resistance coming in here at $6.76. So watch that level if we get that break above $6.30. If we decide to pull back and actually break through this 200 EMA, there's a strong possibility SoFi could pull back to around $5.40. And if we have a further sell-off, we could test back here at $5.18 as far as support. You can see we tested this particular area in the past as well, back back on the 11th of May. So again, watch that area. And if we break through it, we know the 52-week low is at $4.82. So for my investors and as well as my traders out there, these levels will give you what you need to make sure you can make the right decision. But of course, this is not financial advice. Just add it to your homework. But overall, in general, know those levels. And if SoFi could stay above the 200 EMA, let's see if it can make that test to $6.30 sometime this week. So we're going to take a look at the short interest information for SoFi. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 36.28%. And then the off-exchange short volume is just over 4.65 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 4.2 million, updated 26 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 2.06%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of July the 1st, it was at 51.10. And then for the 5th, it was at 36.28. So that is a significant difference right there. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 18.13%, SoFi does have short squeeze potential. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Redbox Entertainment. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $6.29, being up 12.32%. On the low, it tested $5.51, and then on the high, testing $6.39. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 8.099 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 8.051 million shares. So right around the average in regards to volume, and of course, we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a 1 hour chart, I want to point out some levels for you guys. I know many people are saying, hey, is Redbox going to turn up again? So we're going to go over it. So what we want to see as far as support holding up for Redbox is right here at $5.33. Luckily, it only saw a low of the day at $5.51. So what we want to see it do going into tomorrow, can it hold support above $5.51? We want to see a higher low. So it ended up closing at $6.29. So that is very bullish considering the high of the day was at $6.39. So if it decides to move up, then the next area that you want to watch is right here around $7.20. Why is this area significant? It is a known area of resistance for Redbox. We can see it right over here on June the 30th, being resistance over here on June the 6th. We also see it over here on June the 2nd. So that's why I want you guys to pay attention. We did have some price action when it spiked above it, but we can see it also was resistance here on May the 23rd. And history does tend to repeat itself. But if it can break above $7.20, then the next level you want to see it get to is right here around the 200 EMA, which is around $7.88. To make that break going to $8, and the next resistance we have there is right around $8.66. So definitely a play to watch, but we just want to see Redbox hold above $5.33. That would be the best case scenario, and get it ready for that next move up. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent short interest information for Redbox Entertainment. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 53.40%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 1.70 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 0, updated just now, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 651.29%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 1st, it is at 54.04, and then for the close of the 5th being at 53.40. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 153.92%, Redbox has short squeeze potential. Now let's move on. So we're going to do a technical analysis for ChargePoint. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $12.45, being down 1.97%. On the low, it tested $12.27, and then on the high, testing $13.23. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 8.379 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 9.193 million shares. So we have below average volume on the day, and you also see a pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, we are using the 1 hour chart. So let's take take a look at the levels that we want to watch for this week. So you can see very clear here, $12 is a very important level for ChargePoint. It has bounced off of this area many times in the past. So if it does decide to break through it, not only could we start testing around 11.52, if there's further selling pressure, don't be surprised if you see it going down all the way to $10.30. So watch that level if we decide to sell off in the markets. If ChargePoint wants to show some strength now, we did test the low at 12.27. And since it did have a red day, and if it decides to pull back some more, like I said, you want to see that bounce off at $12, and then you want to see if it can go back to revisit at least $13. It had a high at $13.23, so that's one thing you want to keep in mind. So this level is going to be an area to watch. If it could break above $13.25, then we could see how well it could do, but I do see some resistance when it gets to the 200 EMA at $13.67. So that is the top that I could see for ChargePoint in regards to this week. Again, we need strength inside of the markets. We did have some strength today, but it ended up actually just closing red. So we want to pay attention to that. If it continues to do the opposite, then we know as far as for the sentiment, it is not looking great. But if it can turn around, like I said, and make that move up, keep an eye on those levels that I talked about. So we're going to take a look at the short interest information for ChargePoint. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 61%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 2.56 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 600,000, updated 29 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow-free rate, it is at 4.89%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the first, it was at 60.19, and then for the close of the fifth being at 61.01. So it creeped up a bit, and when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 19.74%, ChargePoint does have short squeeze potential. Let's move on. So to sum up the stocks that I covered in this video, we had SoFi that ended up getting a price target of $6. It does show some upside where it's currently at, but hey, that is fairly neutral. But we want to see SoFi making a further move up, so pay attention to those levels that I spoke about. As far as for Lucid, if you watched my video yesterday, I was saying that we're looking for a move going to $18, and we got to close above $18. So the next level that we want to look out for, can it get into the $19 range? We also do know that $20 is a psychological area. Again, make sure you watch the charts and you look at the short interest information so you can come up with a game plan. As far as for ChargePoint, it did underperform overall in the day despite the fact that we did have a green day inside of the market. So you want to keep an eye on it going into tomorrow. Can it bounce off of those areas of support that I spoke about will be the main question. But if it's able to do that, that's where I could see some moves to the upside. But if it continues to pull back, just know what it looks like to the downside, and it is trading in a very tight range, so add that to your homework. And as far as for Redbox, this stock definitely continues to have short squeeze potential. The short interest percentage of the float is fairly high, being well over 100%, and then we have the short borrow fee rate that is well over 650%. So those levels that I talked about when I was going over the chart, add that to your homework as well. That'll give you a good idea of what your trading plan could potentially look like. We know those levels to the upside, and if it decides to pull back, that's where we're going to be looking to see where the bulls want to step in. Make sure you guys are checking this out. The reason why I'm doing this new format for you guys, I want to make sure you're getting on top of these plays, and of course these levels do tend to hold up for a considerable amount of time, but if I need to do another update video, if there's any major changes in the prices, you know where to come, right here on this channel. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be talking to you guys tomorrow.